The arena lights were blinding, the crowd buzzing with anticipation. Cameras clicked, microphones lined the table, and the reigning UFC champion, Marcus Ironjaw Kane, leaned forward with a grin that dripped arrogance. Boxing? He scoffed to the sea of reporters. It's a game for old men. I could beat any of those guys, easy, even Pacquiao. Actually, he paused for dramatic effect. I'll fight Manny Pacquiao anywhere, anytime, any rules. Just to prove it. Gasps rippled through the audience. The journalist's eyes widened. Someone's camera flash popped. This wasn't just trash talk. This was a direct public call-out to one of the most respected fighters in history. Across the world, in the quiet of his Manila home, Manny Pacquiao sat in his living room, his glasses low on his nose, flipping through some papers. The television in the corner blared the press conference live. The words Pacquiao and old man cut through the background noise. Manny looked up. He watched Marcus flex for the cameras, laughing at his own joke. He didn't frown. He didn't smile. He simply sipped his coffee, eyes never leaving the screen. Within hours, the internet erupted. Twitter was ablaze. Did Marcus Kane just call out Pacquiao? Pac-Man versus UFC champ. Make it happen! This guy doesn't know what's coming. Instagram flooded with side-by-side pictures. Marcus posing with his championship belt, Manny raising his gloves in his prime. Comment sections exploded. By dinner, the story had reached every major sports outlet. Manny's wife, Jinky, placed a plate of food in front of him and shook her head. They're talking about you again. Manny glanced at his children. What do you think? One of his sons laughed. Dad, you'd crush him. Manny's only reply was a calm, measured, sometimes. You don't answer with words. Later that night, his phone buzzed again. This time, a direct notification. Marcus Kane had uploaded a new video. The UFC champ, smirking into the camera, spoke straight to Manny. Come on, Pacquiao. You've had your glory. Step into the cage with me, unless you're scared. Manny's expression didn't change, but his eyes told a different story. Before we continue with the story, tell us where you're watching from. And if you're enjoying this, hit that subscribe button. 2 days after the call-out, the sports world was split into two camps. Half thought Marcus Kane was just hyping himself up. The other half believed him. Sports talk shows played the clip over and over, Marcus leaning into the mic, calling Manny Pacquiao an old man and easy pickings. Each replay seemed more insulting than the last. On the third day, Marcus went on a popular U.S. sports podcast. The host laughed. So, Marcus, what's with the Pacquiao talk? You really think you can beat him? Marcus leaned back, arms crossed. Look, I respect what he's done, but boxing is one-dimensional. UFC fighters, we're complete. Striking, grappling, submissions, we've got it all. Pacquiao's never faced someone like me. He smirked at the camera. If he's smart, he won't take the fight. But if he does, well, you'll see what happens. Meanwhile, in Manila, Manny was training, quietly, without cameras, without hype. The gym was empty except for his longtime coach, Freddie Roach. You serious about this? Freddie asked, watching Manny's hands blur as he hit the pads. Manny didn't answer right away. He finished the round, breathing steadily. He thinks this is about strength, Manny finally said. But strength is nothing without timing. Freddie grinned. Then let's give him the timing lesson of his life. The UFC champ wasn't done stirring the pot. On Instagram Live, Marcus filmed himself hitting a heavy bag. Between combinations, he'd throw little jabs at Manny. Too fast for the old man. Pacquiao better be practicing his takedown defense. Hope he doesn't hurt himself running up the stairs. His fans loved it. The comments were full of laughing emojis, people betting on Marcus to win. But what Marcus didn't know was that Manny's training was different this time. He wasn't just boxing. He was studying MMA footwork, learning clinch escapes, drilling defenses for takedowns. One afternoon, a sparring partner, an actual MMA fighter, shot in for a double leg takedown. Manny sprawled, twisted, and was back on his feet before anyone could blink. Not bad for an old man, the partner said with a laugh. The fight negotiations happened behind closed doors, but soon the posters went up. Pacquiao versus Cain, crossover rules. No cage, no boxing ring, a custom platform, rules blending elements of both sports. The announcement broke the internet. The date was set, 6 weeks away, press conference day. The two men finally stood face to face, Manny in a tailored navy suit, calm as still water. Marcus in a tight black shirt, muscles bulging, sunglasses hiding his eyes. Reporters fired questions. Marcus, why call out a boxer? Marcus, are you underestimating Manny? Marcus smirked. Underestimating? No, I know exactly what. I'm dealing with a legend past his prime. All eyes turned to Manny. He adjusted the mic, his voice steady. In my life, I have learned never to mistake humility for weakness. The room went silent. Marcus leaned toward Manny with a grin. Hope you can back that up, old man. Manny didn't flinch. I hope you can survive the first round. Training intensified. Manny woke at 4 a.m., ran the empty streets of Manila, then hit the gym for hours. Video clips leaked. Manny slipping punches from a young MMA fighter, countering with lightning jabs, practicing body kicks, surprising even those who thought they'd seen it all. Marcus, on the other hand, doubled. Down on the trash talk. He filmed himself training in luxury gyms, sparring with loud music blasting, shouting into the camera after each session. Pacquiao's got no idea what's coming. Fight week arrived. The city hosting the event buzzed with energy. Billboards, TV ads, and online countdown timers were everywhere. Both fighters checked into their hotels under heavy security. The night before the fight, Manny sat quietly in his suite. His wife Jinky asked, "Are you ready?" Manny looked up from wrapping his hands. "I've been ready since the moment." He opened his mouth. Outside, fans chanted in the streets, their voices echoing through the night. The air felt heavy, charged with anticipation. The weigh-in was electric. Fans packed into the arena, holding flags, posters, and signs, half reading, "Pac Men Forever," the other half, Team Cain. When Manny Pacquiao stepped on the scale, the crowd roared. He smiled politely, waving to his fans. The announcer called, 145 pounds even, Manny Pacquiao. Marcus Cain followed. Shirtless, muscles rippling, he flexed for the cameras. 170 pounds even, Marcus Cain. The two faced off for the cameras. Marcus towered over Manny, his shadow falling across the smaller man. He smirked. "Hope you can reach my chin." Manny only replied, "Hope you can see my punches." The crowd erupted. The arena glowed under bright lights. The platform, a hybrid of boxing ring and MMA cage, gleamed in the center. Every seat was full, the noise deafening. Backstage, Manny warmed up in silence, gloves tapping the pads in a rhythmic, controlled pace. His coach, Freddie Roach, gave the final words. "Stay sharp. Let him come to you. He'll get desperate. Fast." Across the hall, Marcus was pacing like a caged lion. His team hyped him up, chanting, "First round knockout." He shadowboxed aggressively, throwing elbows and knees into the air. Marcus came out first to booming bass-heavy music. The crowd split between cheers and boos. He pointed to his chest, mouthing, "This is my time." Then the lights dimmed. A single spotlight hit the entrance. Manny Pacquiao walked out to the sound of upbeat Filipino music, smiling as he tapped gloves with fans. He looked calm, almost too calm for a man about to fight someone 25 pounds heavier. The bell rang and Marcus charged forward instantly, throwing a flurry of wild strikes, jabs, hooks, even a high kick. The crowd gasped at the speed of the larger man. Manny stepped back, eyes locked on Marcus, letting him burn energy. He slipped the first two punches, sidestepped the kick, and landed a clean counter jab right on Marcus's nose. Marcus laughed it off. "That all you got?" he taunted, waving Manny forward, but Manny didn't bite. He circled, changing angles, making Marcus miss again and again. 1 minute in, Marcus lunged for a takedown. The crowd roared, but Manny sprawled, twisted, and spun out, returning to his feet before Marcus could even grab a leg. "That's new," one commentator said, surprised. Marcus smirked again, but his breathing was heavier now. He rushed forward with a looping right hand, and that's when Manny struck. A lightning-fast three-punch combination, Jab, cross, left hook to the body. Marcus staggered back, eyes wide. The crowd exploded. 2 minutes left in the round. Marcus tried to reset, bouncing on his feet, but Manny was stalking him now, slipping punches by millimeters and countering with blistering accuracy. A right hook snapped Marcus's head to the side. A left to the ribs made him wince. The chants began, "Pac-Man! Pac-Man!" Marcus threw a desperate spinning back fist. Manny ducked under, stepped in, and landed an uppercut so clean that sweat flew off Marcus's head like mist under the lights. The bell rang, and Marcus stumbled back to his corner, shaking his head. Manny sat down calmly, barely breathing. Hard. His coach whispered, "He's already breaking. If you're loving this fight, hit that subscribe button, because what happens in round 2 will leave the entire arena screaming." The bell for round 2 echoed through the arena. Marcus. Kane stood from his stool slower this time. The bravado from the weigh-in and the first round had dimmed, replaced with a tight jaw and narrowed eyes. His corner shouted instructions. Pressure him, don't let him move. Manny Pacquiao, on the other hand, looked like he had just warmed up. He bounced lightly on his feet, gloves loose, eyes laser-focused. Marcus came forward again, but it wasn't the same reckless charge as before. He was more cautious now, probing with jabs, trying to keep Manny at the end of his reach. The first 30 seconds passed in a tense dance, Marcus flicking punches, Manny slipping just outside of range, always angling to his left. Then, Manny feinted with his right hand. Marcus bit. He stepped forward, guard slightly open. That's when it happened. A sudden, explosive left cross from Manny, the punch he was famous for, sliced through Marcus's guard and cracked against his jaw. The crowd gasped in unison. Marcus staggered, backward, his legs unsteady. Manny didn't rush in wildly. He moved with surgical precision, stepping forward and throwing a blinding 5-punch combination. Jab, straight, left hook, right uppercut, left straight. Every punch landed. Marcus's back hit the cage wall. His eyes were glassy. He threw a desperate right hook, but Manny ducked under it and unleashed a vicious left to the body. The sound echoed, a deep thud that made the crowd flinch. Marcus folded slightly, trying to protect his ribs. That was all Manny needed. With perfect timing, Pacquiao launched a short, snapping right hook to the temple. Marcus's legs buckled. His body collapsed against the cage and slid to the mat. The referee dove in instantly, waving it off. The fight was over. Fans were on their feet, screaming, waving flags, chanting, "Pac-Man, Pac-Man!" Manny stepped back, raising his gloves. Briefly but quickly went to check on Marcus, who was still on the canvas, dazed. After a moment, Marcus sat up, shaking his head. He looked at Manny and, in a gesture nobody expected, extended his hand. Manny took it, pulling him to his feet. The two hugged. In the post-fight interview, the announcer asked Manny, "You just defeated a much younger, much bigger UFC champion. How did you do it?" Manny smiled humbly. "It's not about size. It's about discipline, hard work, and respect. I fight to give people hope, not to prove I'm better than anyone." The crowd cheered louder. Marcus, still catching his breath, took the microphone. "I talked a lot before this fight. I thought I could walk through him. I was wrong. Manny Pacquiao is a legend, and I learned something tonight." The crowd applauded, appreciating the humility. Within minutes of Manny's knockout victory, the footage was everywhere. Clips of the left cross that rocked Marcus Kane were replayed in slow motion on sports channels around the world. Commentators analyzed every angle, some with pure awe, others with disbelief. On Twitter, Checker Pac-Man KO was trending within 15 minutes. Fans posted side-by-side videos of Marcus's confident trash talk at the press conference, and the moment his legs buckled. In the second round, one tweet read, "Manny Pacquiao just reminded the world why you never underestimate a legend." Another simply said, "Size doesn't matter. Heart does." In the Philippines, the streets lit up with celebrations. Bars replayed the fight on loop, jeepney drivers blasted their horns in rhythm with chants of "Pac-Man," and kids reenacted the knockout in alleyways using makeshift gloves. In Manila, a giant LED billboard replayed the winning punch on a loop, each time followed by the words, "Respect the legend." Sports talk shows couldn't get enough. One anchor said, "Marcus Kane is a great fighter, but he learned tonight that skill and speed can humble anyone. Pacquiao's timing was flawless." Another commentator added, "This wasn't just a fight. It was a lesson in discipline, respect, and the danger of underestimating your opponent." Even UFC fighters weighed in. Some congratulated Manny openly. Others admitted they had underestimated him themselves. Back in the locker room, Manny's team was buzzing with excitement. But Manny himself? Calm as ever. He sat quietly, lacing off his gloves, listening to his coach talk about dinner plans. For him, the victory wasn't about proving anything. It was about showing that humility wins in the long run. Jinky, his wife, came in with tears in her eyes. "You always make me proud," she whispered. Manny just smiled. Half an hour later, there was a knock on the locker room door. It was Marcus Kane. Still sore, still bruised, but holding something in his hands. The very gloves he had worn in the fight. "I wanted you to have these," Marcus said quietly, "as a sign of respect. I don't give these to anyone. But tonight, you earned it." Manny accepted them graciously. "Thank you. We're all fighters. We're all brothers in the ring." The moment was caught on camera, and within hours, that handshake photo became one of the most shared sports images of the year. If you've ever been underestimated, if someone's ever doubted you, remember Manny Pacquiao's story tonight. 2 weeks had passed since Manny Pacquiao's stunning victory over Marcus Kane. Yet the buzz refused to die down. Manny's phone rang almost daily with offers, sports brands, luxury watches, even international charities wanting him as their global ambassador. But Manny was selective. He chose brands that aligned with his values and, more importantly, causes that would directly help communities in the Philippines. One major deal he accepted involved a multi-million-dollar partnership, with a catch. Instead of taking the money for himself, Manny directed the entire sponsorship fee toward building 3 new hospitals in rural provinces. When the announcement was made, social media exploded again. Headlines read, "Pacquiao turns victory into life-saving mission." On the other side of the world, Marcus Kane was dealing with his own whirlwind. The loss had hurt his pride. Badly. But surprisingly, the UFC champion wasn't hiding from it. He appeared on a major sports talk show, looking humble and far from his usual brash self. "I thought I could just walk in there and overpower him," Marcus admitted. "But Manny, he taught me something bigger than boxing or MMA. He taught me about respect, and I'll carry that lesson for the rest of my career." Fans were shocked when, a month later, Marcus flew to the Philippines, not for a fight, but for a charity exhibition organized by Manny. The two shared the ring again, but this time there were no knockouts, no trash talk, only laughter and good-natured competition. All proceeds from the event went to build homes for families affected by typhoons. A major streaming service saw the perfect opportunity for a documentary. Tentatively titled The Fight Beyond the Ring, it would follow the story from the infamous call-out to the night of the fight and the unlikely friendship that followed. The teaser clip alone, showing Marcus's confident press conference, comments crossfading into the knockout punch, racked up over 15 million views in just 3 days. In sports circles, Manny's victory was no longer just an upset. It was becoming a symbol, proof that humility, preparation, and respect could triumph over arrogance and brute force. Coaches used it as a lesson for young fighters. Motivational speakers referenced it in speeches. Even schools in the Philippines included a short segment about it in leadership programs. Yet, despite all the noise, Manny returned home to his usual routine. Morning runs through General Santos City, breakfast with his family, afternoons at the gym, training not for fame, but for discipline. In one interview, Manny said, "The fight is over, but the lesson continues. Not for Marcus, for all of us." It was 6 months after the fight. The sun had set over Las Vegas and the air buzzed with anticipation, not for another boxing or UFC match, but for a special charity gala bringing together the biggest names in sports. The event was called Champions for Change, and its goal was to raise funds for global children's education. But there was one moment everyone was waiting for. A joint appearance by Manny Pacquiao and Marcus Kane, the rivals who had once stood toe-to-toe under the bright lights. Inside the grand ballroom of the Bellagio Hotel, the room sparkled with crystal chandeliers, deep red carpets, and tables set with gold-trimmed plates. The guest list read like a who's who of sports: Olympic champions, world record holders, legendary coaches. When Manny arrived with his wife Jinky, the cameras flashed wildly. He was dressed in a perfectly tailored navy suit, his trademark Cialis humble smile never leaving his face. A few minutes later, Marcus Kane walked in, wearing a sleek black tuxedo, looking more serious than fans remembered. The two locked eyes across the room. And instead of the tension that had once electrified the air between them, Marcus broke into a smile. Manny walked forward, hand extended. They shook hands, and the crowd erupted in applause. Halfway through the evening, the event's host, a famous sports journalist, took the stage. "Tonight," he said, "we're not just celebrating victories in the ring or the octagon. We're celebrating victories of the heart. And I can't think of a better way to do that than to invite Manny Pacquiao and Marcus Kane up here together." Manny and Marcus exchanged a glance. Neither had prepared a joint speech, but both walked toward the stage. The applause was thunderous. Marcus took the microphone, his deep voice steady, but carrying emotion. "6 months ago," he began, "I stood in a ring with this man, convinced I was going to crush him. I thought I was smarter, stronger, faster, and I was wrong. But here's the thing. Losing that fight was one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it made me realize that strength without humility is nothing, and I learned that lesson from Manny Pacquiao." The crowd cheered, but Marcus wasn't done. He turned to Manny. "Brother, you didn't just beat me, you changed me, and tonight I'm proud to stand here with you, not as a rival, but as a friend." Manny took the microphone, pausing for a moment to let the room settle. "When Marcus called me out, I didn't feel anger. I felt opportunity. Not to prove him wrong, but to prove something bigger. That respect is more powerful than arrogance. That discipline beats ego. And that even in sports, we can lift each other up after we knock each other down." He glanced at Marcus and smiled. "Marcus is not the man I fought that night. He's a better man, and so am I." The host stepped back in, clearly moved. And then Manny leaned toward the microphone again. "I want to make an announcement tonight," he said. "Marcus and I have decided to partner for something new, a global youth program called Fight for the Future. We will travel together, to schools around the world, teaching young people not just how to fight, but how to fight for their dreams with respect." The audience gasped, then erupted into cheers. For a solid minute, the ballroom was on its feet. Cameras captured Marcus and Manny standing side by side, raising their joined hands like champions. In that moment, the story that had started with arrogance and ended in humiliation transformed into something rare in the sports world: true redemption. After the speeches, the two shared a quiet moment backstage. Marcus chuckled. "You know, 6 months ago, if someone told me we'd be doing charity work together, I would have laughed in their face." Manny patted his shoulder. "Sometimes the fight outside the ring is more important than the one inside." Morning, the video of their joint speech had gone viral. Clips flooded social media. The handshake that drew cheers. Marcus calling Manny brother. Manny's line about fighting for dreams, not against each other. Fans from both boxing and MMA communities flooded the comments with messages like, "This is what real champions look like." 2 warriors, 1 message. Weeks later, the first Fight for the Future event took place in Manila. Thousands of kids showed up, many from poor communities. They got to see 2 champions, one from the ring, one from the octagon, teaching side by side. At the end of the day, Marcus pulled Manny aside. "Pac-Man," he said, "there's one thing I never said after our fight. Thank you, not for beating me, but for not letting that be the end of my story." Manny smiled, shook his hand and said, "Brother, it's just the beginning. If you've been with us through this journey, from the challenge to the fight to this moment of unity, you've seen how a rivalry can turn into a partnership that inspires the world. So, tell us in the comments, what's the biggest lesson you've learned from this story? And don't forget to subscribe because tomorrow, we have another true story that will leave you speechless."